Hello and welcome. I am so glad that you are here. Thank you for joining us on this seminar, Who Do You Think You Are? And indeed, knowing who you are is key to overcoming any bully, and especially the covert bully. We're going to talk about that today. Okay, so friends, 7 things that the covert bully does not want you to rediscover about yourself. And we're going to start with number 1, the very first thing. So the covert bully does not want you to rediscover your true identity. And I'm going to be covering why you and I are like a walled city. And I'm going to ask the question, is there a break in your wall? We're also going to talk about, second thing, why your thoughts, your mind, your perceptions, how you see things are key to the bully's success or failure. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about why an encounter with a bully, as horrible as it may be or could possibly be a wake-up call to rediscovering your identity. So let's start with the walled city thing. So we're going to talk about the idea of you and me being like a walled city. Now, in ancient days, for instance, in the Holy Land, cities had to be protected or were protected with a wall, with watchmen regularly patrolling the wall and with a central gate through which people friendly to the city might be admitted. So they were checked at the gate of the city. This is important because when a city has a wall that is broken or not intact, the city's security is breached. That means the city is not secure, it is not guarded. It can therefore be attacked and infiltrated by those who do not respect and honor the sovereignty, the identity of the city, the ruler, the people, etc. In the same manner, if you have a cut on your skin, and say you fell into, I don't know, like say a boggy marsh, horrible marsh, you would have more of a risk of having bacteria or parasites or viruses getting into your body. As a dentist, I always wear gloves and a mask to protect my body from infectious organisms. And if I have a cut on my skin, I avoid working it altogether until it heals. You see, why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because a break in the skin allows dangerous viruses and bacteria to enter your skin and to harm the body. But why are we going on about this? Because, friends, bullies, especially covert bullies, are like opportunistic viruses. They are powerless to attack you unless there is a break in the wall, or you let them in through the main gates. And that's why it is really, really useful to look at ourselves as a city, a walled city. Bullies select their victims based on their observation of an opening, not in their physical skin, of course, but rather in the broken skin of their mind or a crack in the wall. Here's what you need to know. Just like a virus, just in the same way that a virus gets into the body and begins to replicate itself like a bad seed, the covert bully looks for an opportunity, an opening, and plants tiny, obscure, negative thoughts that have a really low vibrational frequency, if you may. And these thoughts, once in the system of the mind, search for a soil, a bit of soil that has the same low vibrational frequency as them, which is kind of fear, normally fear. And once they find a small collection of fear, they begin to grow like a seed, producing toxins of more fear. And if not expelled, they create the perfect environment in which the bully can successfully function, or rather the seeds of the bully can successfully function. We are admonished, even in the scriptures, to guard the heart, guard the mind. Because once something negative is planted in it, it can gain deep roots and affect a person's entire outlook on life or their perspective of themselves and their life in a very negative way. Okay, so I want to tell you this story. So the other day, I love gardening. The other day I went out into my garden and I tried to uproot some evergreen creeping junipers that I had planted some years ago, thinking they were so cute. They had become so unruly that I decided to get rid of them. But what a shock I had when I found, to my amazement, that their roots had sunk deep and expanded into vast areas of the garden. It took an entire afternoon to uproot 2 plants that I had planted in literally 2 minutes some years before. This is a perfect example of how a seed planted in a mind that is not protected can grow and can spread out its roots and become almost immovable. It is movable, but it is almost immovable. So this is why we're talking about the city. It's of course imagery, but a city that has a break in its wall, like a mind that has a break in the wall of protection around the mind, with no watchmen, no monitoring, no internal monitoring is what I'm saying. No internal government, no order, can easily be broken into, and thoughts that do not honor and respect its rules and the very nature of that mind can invade and change the very nature, the face, the identity, and the destiny of that city. Right? We're not talking about a city, we're just using imagery. But if the city has good government, good watchmen that are working, good rules and laws, clear good rules and laws, it will quickly detect, fix the break in the wall, and kick out any intruding thoughts that do not honor the rules and laws. In the same way, we all must have a mission statement. That is what we stand for, what we value, how we want to be treated, and how we treat others. And we must be aware of what is right and wrong and uphold these laws in our city. Our 5 senses keep us alert as to what is going on around us, but our intuition and emotional energy tell us when we encounter words, thoughts, or even presences of a negative nature. This detection allows us to ensure that we do not engage in such pathways. The break in the wall of our mind and heart is anything that causes us to embrace or align ourselves with negative words, thoughts, actions, or presences. The break in a wall is repaired by saturating our minds and hearts with uplifting, praise-filled thoughts of a high vibrational nature, releasing anger, resentment, and embracing thoughts of goodness that fill us with passion. Because when we engage with our passion, we are on a path to our true destiny. And that is when we are most strong, powerful, and fearfully made. That is when we are aligned consciously or subconsciously with our identity and destiny. Here's what I want us to take away. Why don't we grab your paper, grab your pen, and let's write out. You may never have done this before, and it's okay. Write out. It's the first time for everything. write out a mission statement that encapsulates your identity. For example, your values, your gifts, your passions, your philosophy, how you expect to be treated and how you treat others, and of course your passion. I think I said that already. Number 2, think of any ways that your wall, the wall of your heart or your mind, could be in any way slightly broken or gashed open, basically vulnerable to negative thoughts, negative suggestive thoughts that aren't really you, but could be implanted. And number 3, let's list some thoughts, some activities that could on a daily basis saturate your mind with great passion and joy. Okay, so next we're going to talk about why your thoughts, your mind, and your perceptions are key to the bully's success or failure. And this is very important because the bully's main area of assault. Now, I'm not talking about fisticuffs because we're talking about the covert bully. Even if there is fisticuffs, the bully's main area of assault is your mind. He cannot infiltrate your mind unless you allow him in and believe what he says about you. This is where it gets really tricky, because if you already believe, if there's a break in the wall and you already believe about yourself, the rubbish that the covert bully tells you, you already believe those negative seeds that the covert bully tries to infiltrate. You've got a lot of work to do on your thoughts. You've got a lot of work to do on closing that break in the wall. Here's what you need to know. The covert bully will always attack your identity, no matter what. The covert bully will always attack your identity. In fact, the success of a covert bully depends on you and me being slightly uncertain of our identity. And it's not your fault at all. It's not our fault at all. You may know full well who you are in your conscious mind. But here's where it gets interesting and sometimes a little confusing, because there is another mind, which is the subconscious mind. And that is a whole other seminar. But suffice to know that if other programs about who you are playing in the background from other events or fears, even though you may know in your conscious mind that you are a king or a prince or a princess, in any given stressful situation, you may act as though you are a pauper because the subconscious mind connects and takes over. The covert bully is depending on this. If you know who you are, your God-given identity, what your body and mind and spirit are capable of, and what your destiny is here on earth, the covert bully is, and listen to this and listen well, if you know who you are, your God-given identity, what your body, mind, and spirit are capable of, and what your destiny is here on earth, the covert bully is powerless against you. In fact, they will find you extremely repulsive because you will carry a high vibrational energy that will repel their very low fear-based energy, and they will not feel good around you, and they will not be able to elicit fear from you, which is what they need to feel powerful. You overcome the covert bully by being, okay, wait for it, by being who you were created to be. If only it were that simple. Now, having a clear sense of identity also comes along with having a clear sense of, one, what your mission statement and values are. Two, what the laws are that you live by. Three, who your community is. Four, who will protect you or that you are protected by a community or whoever. Five, that your friends are those with similar mission statements and or those who do not violate yours and you do not violate theirs. Six, where you've come from in both body, soul, and spirit. And last, where you are going in terms of destiny, passion, and service to others. Having these identity 7, which is what I call them, firmly in your subconscious mind repels you from the target zone of the covert bully. Because the covert bully's aim is to cause confusion and chaos and self-doubt about your identity. If knowledge of your true identity is already hidden in your subconscious, they are not able to do this. Now, this is why covert bullies often call you veiled names. Overt bullies call you outright names, But covert bullies call you veiled names. On at least a subconscious level, they understand that if they can get you to believe that you are a loser, a nerd, stupid, their job can be made much, much easier. So they try to give to you a false identity. They may call you fatty, tatty, ratty, and hope that you will accept that is who you are. Many times, a covert bully will disguise the illegal planting of word seeds. I want to say that again. Many times, a covert bully will disguise the illegal planting of word seeds by using the cover-up phrase, "Oh, it was just a joke. Geez, talk about sensitive," and other similar things. These tactics are simply to fog up your senses and to prevent you from listening to the protective watchman of your emotional, intuitive senses that are saying, illegal implantation of negative thought, reject, right? It's like having a security system. It's like having an antiviral system in your mind, and we do. But the problem is we can override it. So unlike Kaspersky or Norton, where it's grabbed, virus is kicked out, and wall is repaired, our protection system can be overridden by us, and frequently we override our emotional or intuitive senses that are saying that's an illegal implantation of a negative thought, get rid of it. And we're like, well, probably they're right. No, reject it. When you understand intuition and emotional intelligence simply alerts the physical body to energies that our physical eyes cannot see, we learn to trust its warning, even in the light of words that are to the contrary. So the covert bully requires, 1, an opportunity to plant seeds illegally in the soil of your mind. Don't let them. It's your mind. Let them keep their negative seeds. 2, the covert bully requires an opportunity to repetitively reinforce the seed planting in an undisturbed soil of fear. Now, disrupt that soil. Your knowledge of your true identity actually disrupts that soil of fear. It's like weed out. It's like weed killer. It's like weed killer to the illegal seeds that are planted by the covert bully. Okay, so what can we take away here? Let's make a detailed list pertaining to the 7 identity keys. And for each one of them that I talked about before, and for each one of them, consider if it is firmly seated in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the autonomic system, established system part of your mind that steps into action when there's an emergency, when you're afraid, whenever your conscious mind is occupied. So finally, we're going to discuss why an encounter with a bully, as horrible as it can be, if you've had an encounter with a bully, you'll know it's not fun. It's never fun. But why an encounter with a bully may be a wake-up call to rediscovering your identity. Okay. Now, this is really important, and I'll tell you why. Because people's perception of their identity is not simply in the conscious mindset that we're aware of. We talked about this just now, but it's also in the subconscious mind that we might not be aware of. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we don't really know who we are. So here's really the important thing to know. You do not fight a bully with your fists and win. Ever. Now you may fight a bully with your fists and win, but the real win is when you learn to overcome the bully with your mind and with the power of knowing your true identity and what that entails. All bullies, both covert and overt bullies, are actually powered by a very low vibration of fear. So they are constantly in search of a high sense of energy. They cannot get that energy at the frequency at which they operate. They operate at the energy of fear or the frequency of fear. So you see them translate fear into other types of low vibrational energies, different forms like fear into anger and rage and hatred. And it's all the same low vibrational energy, different forms for different purposes and different events. The person who has full knowledge of their identity, their passion, their destiny, is on a high vibrational frequency or a pathway. Their pathway is diametrically opposed to that of the covert bully. The covert bully needs to fill up on as much energy as possible, which gives him or her a dim sense of power. This sense of power is extracted from causing chaos or disruption, which is the opposite of shalom. In other words, eliciting fear and chaos, ultimately to hold fear over that person that they're bullying, to suppress their God-given vibrance and destiny. In many situations, a covert bully is surrounded by an entourage of others who submit to him and her and keep on feeding his or her need for this, what we call counterfeit power, because it's not power at all. It's a very low pathway. The person who has knowledge of their identity does not need an entourage, or neither do they need to violate the autonomy of another person, because their power and their high vibration is attained by walking the pathway they were ordained to walk. On this path, they are equipped with their God-given gifts and passions. It's a pathway that they were born to walk. I'm going to tell you this little story. When I was that sort of illustrates this point probably a little bit better. When I was a young girl, I grew up believing I was very timid and quiet. I was brought up to be respectful and avoid trouble. And when I was 11 years old, I went to boarding school and I encountered an overt bully. One afternoon, whilst I was walking back from a shower, the bully was walking towards me, looking over her shoulder, walked into me and knocked both of our buckets from our hands. So I said sorry automatically because that was something I did. Oh, I'm sorry. And I picked up my bucket as well as her bucket and was about to be on my way when she demanded angrily why I had eyeballed her. I told her I had done no such thing. She demanded, "Who do you think you are?" And then she commanded that I kneel down before her on the ground, right there, drop to your knees in submission and punishment. She was about 4 times my size and also a senior, probably in the 4th or the 5th grade form, I can't remember. Well, I tried in vain to clarify the situation to no avail. Her rage grew by the second as she yelled to me continuously, repetitively, to drop to my knees in submission. She kept on yelling, "Who do you think you are?" And I kept on thinking, no, I'm just an ordinary person who didn't eyeball you. A large crowd began to grow around us. And that was when it happened. My heart was pounding. I wasn't a hero or anything. I was really scared. My heart was pounding. My throat was dry. I was so frightened. I did not know what to do. I was absolutely certain of one thing, that if she gave me a blow, I would probably die instantly. That was when I heard it. A voice inside me said, "Stand up. You will not kneel before this girl. That is who you are." The me that I thought I was screamed, "What? What? Do I want to die today? Of course I will kneel. Everyone kneels. Kneeling is not a big deal." The voice from the depths of my soul said, "You have not been required to kneel, ever, not even before your own father, and you will not kneel before this girl. That is who you are." By this time, some of the crowd was telling her to cool it. This was unjust. Others were saying, just kneel, Christine, and just give her what she wants, and it'll all be over." Oh, I wanted it to all be over all right. My throat was so dry, it felt like sandpaper. I wanted to kneel. I tried to make my knees bend a little. That voice deep inside me jerked me right up into standing position, and I heard it again for the 3rd time. "You will not kneel before this girl today." It was as though there were 2 people talking inside my head. And truly, I thought that day it was gonna be my last. But thankfully, it was not my last. I did not kneel, and miraculously, I was saved by the school's most notorious wild girl who had been watching from her balcony up on the 2nd floor. I remember how the crowd parted and fell silent as she walked through them to me. They parted like the Red Sea. Honestly, she faced my bully and said, "Leave her alone. Do you hear me? She's done nothing to you." And to the crowd, she spoke one word, "Scatter." And they were gone. To me, she said, "I like you. You have a great deal of courage." Whew, that was the last thing that I thought I had. Until that day, I had always considered myself timid, quiet, camouflaged in mediocrity. But on that day, I discovered that there was another part of me that I was not aware of, that took over when this stressful event occurred. And boy, I had to admit, I liked this other me. I kind of admired this other me. Wow, where did this other me come from? She was strong and calm and determined, courageous, and in times of trouble, she took over. This other me, I discovered, emerged often when I encountered bullies that year and simply disappeared when they were gone. As the years went by, I began to understand more and more what my true identity was, because it perfectly aligned with my passions, which were supported by my gifts, convictions, and mission statement. But that was the first encounter with the very first bully who actually showed me who I really was. Let's take this away. Why don't we write an account of an unexpected event that caused you to discover an aspect of your personality that you did not know you had, whether it was good or bad, and how you worked either to enhance it or to delete it. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Tomorrow, we're going to, in 2 days, we're going to be covering the topic that bullies do not want you to know. Did you know that bullies must have specific systems, environments, and communities that allow them to function in order to function? Without those communities, without those systems, bullies cannot function, especially covert bullies. My name is Dr. C.A.Botchway Jr., Christine Botchway, and I hope this has been of some help to you. I would really love you to join us for the next seminar. And until then, have a wonderful day. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Shalom.